And now I want to bring in Assistant Fire Chief Stephen Skipper of Lipscomb County. He joins us from the firehouse there. Thank you so much for joining us. We know that you've been sending all your help to the heart of where the fire started in Hemphill County. What's the latest that you're hearing on the status of those fires?
Well, you know, that fire actually started in Hutchinson County over by Stinnett, Texas, and it traveled east almost 100 miles all the way to the Oklahoma line through Roberts County, Ochiltree County, burned into Hemphill County, got into Lipscomb County, and then the wind shifted from the north and blew it into the town of Canadian. That's when the city of Canadian ordered their evacuation, and now the fire, as it's through Canadian, the last update I heard, which was a while ago, it's on the Canadian or the Hemphill Wheeler County line, and the towns in Wheeler County and even farther south of there are evacuating.
And you mentioned those evacuations. Is there any concern that people are trapped by the flames?
You know, there is. In Canadian, you know, there's really only one way in and one way out as far as the highways go there, and it's kind of in a canyon.
Is it typical?
The northern exit was cut off earlier in the day, and then this afternoon, I think before a lot of people were able to get out of town, the southern exit was also cut off by fire. So I know at one point they were sending residents to the football field to try to take shelter. It's harder to burn short grass, I guess. And then several shelters in town were set up, and they advised residents to shelter in place at that time.
Is it typical for Texas to experience fires like these in February?
You know, this is a big one. This is, I would call this atypical, but it's definitely typical that we get big fires every year. This year, it seems to be especially bad. We've got a lot of overgrown vegetation. We had unusually high levels of rainfall this summer. And then, you know, when that dries out and dies in the wintertime, it just creates an enormous fuel load on the ground that makes these situations really dangerous when we get these high winds and low humidity like we saw yesterday and today.
What's the most important thing that you want people to remember as these wildfires are breaking out?
I think people should remember that people are going to need help. You know, I think the people that live out here, they understand what they need to do to protect themselves and try to protect their property. But what I'd like everybody watching, everybody listening to remember is that these people affected by these fires, I know several people personally that have lost their homes in Canadian. I know some of my family members have lost their home there. These people are going to need help, and there's going to be ways to do that. These little towns in Texas always set up funds at the banks and at the churches. And if you just follow the local fire departments, follow the Canadian Volunteer Fire Department on Facebook, I know they're going to post those ways to help there. And then remember that these volunteer fire departments are 100% staffed by volunteers who are leaving their jobs and leaving their families to do this work. And then they're totally funded by donations. So after a fire like this, their equipment is often, our equipment at the Booker Fire Department suffers damage every time we do something like this. And a lot of times it's up to the firefighters themselves who are already volunteering their time to come in and make those repairs with the limited funding that they have. So the fire departments are going to need help, and the people affected by the fires are going to need a lot of help. So I would just say, if you're going to remember one thing, remember to look for ways to help the people that need it.
We appreciate those reminders. I can imagine a number of people are going to want to help out. Assistant Fire Chief Skipper, we thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Our assisted people out as quickly as possible. Our hospital did a wonderful job of making sure all of the residents of the nursing home and the assisted living were safely evacuated, and then the patients there at the hospital. So, so you know, like a captain going down with a ship, you want to stay to the very end and make sure everything's taken care of. And by the time he ran home to switch cars to leave to meet us at the ranch south of town, the roads had been closed, and the fire was engulfing town around the outskirts in all directions.
Well, I know you're worried about him, you're worried about your house, you're out at the ranch, but there are a lot of people who the fire is bearing down on them right now. And in some cases, these fires are 0% contained, right?
That's my understanding. I have not heard an official report since about 3 a.m. From a news station actually in Amarillo, which is about 2 hours from us.
Right.
But our county resources and city resources are gathering information to make an announcement to the public later today.
Well, I know you've got a busy day. Thank you very much for joining us to tell us what it's like there in Canadian Texas. Wendy Cook, thank you very much.
Where we have severe weather, we've got a threat for some high winds and wildfires. Live look right now at Hemphill County in Texas as a brush fire has broken out here in the Texas Panhandle. Winds are very gusty right now. Our dew points are very, very low at this point, and they're only going to get worse through the afternoon and evening. We have red flag warnings. We have critical fire danger in this area, so the smallest of spark can really set off an inferno. We would urge you, please, at all costs, to no burning, no trash burning, no campfires, nothing of that sort. No cigarette butts out the window. This can be the result of that. Again, the smallest of spark with winds that might gust as high as 60 miles an hour. 60. That's a problem, of course. All right, so let's break it down for you here and what's going on with the winds. I think that map shows you a lot of what's happening, right? A lot of color there. It's advisories, it's warnings, it's red flag warnings to the tune of about 87 million people under that threat. It's the West, it's the Midwest, it's the Southeast, it's the Northeast, Southern Plains. Hardly any spot is being missed by the wind. Again, this is outside of the severe weather threat that we've got going on in the Midwest. Red flag warnings that are in effect here. Texas, New Mexico, through Oklahoma, all the way into Missouri, edging over all the way to St. Louis. So we've got along I-44 here from Springfield all the way back down toward the Rio Grande River. We've got a potential elevated fire danger. There's that critical area, and this is the area that we've got the fire burning right now in Texas that we just showed you on the live camera. Here's the thing, front side of the cold front. So the cold front's right there, okay? On the front side, warm, moist air, not conducive for fires. On the backside of this, very dry air. Look at some of these dew points. It's like crack your skin, dry lips kind of weather. And with winds that could be gusting up to 60 miles an hour, a recipe for fire.
Multiple fires are burning across the Texas Panhandle. The largest is the Smokehouse Creek fire, which started Monday and has grown to more than 500,000 acres as of Wednesday morning, according to the Texas A&M Forest Service. This makes it the second largest fire in state history, fueled by windy and dry conditions. Governor Greg Abbott issued a disaster declaration for 60 counties. Shelters are being set up for people asked to evacuate.
We have heard from we've lost everything to we have a house. But most of the people that have come in, they have lost everything.
An unknown number of homes and other structures have been damaged and destroyed. Thousands of people are without power. The Smokehouse Creek fire was at 0% containment as of Wednesday morning.